Today, we're diving into the absolutely mind-blowing true story of Desmond Doss. He was a soldier in World War II whose heroism completely flipped the script on what it means to be a hero. I mean, just think about that question for a second. It sounds impossible, right? A soldier who won't even touch a weapon, and yet he becomes one of the most decorated heroes in U.S. history. That paradox, that contradiction, is exactly what makes the story of Desmond Doss so powerful. So to figure out how this could even happen, we have to start at the beginning. We've got to understand the deep, personal conflict brewing inside one man between his faith and his duty to his country. Now, the official term for what Desmond was is a conscientious objector. But this wasn't just some casual preference. This is a legally recognized position for people whose deepest beliefs, their religion, their conscience, make it impossible for them to engage in combat. And for Desmond Doss, this wasn't just a belief, it was the very core of who he was. So who was this guy? Well, Desmond Doss was born in Virginia in 1919. He was raised as a devout Seventh-day Adventist, a faith that holds nonviolence as a sacred principle. But here's the twist. When World War II broke out, he felt a powerful sense of patriotism. He wanted to serve. So he enlisted, but with a condition that seemed crazy to the Army. He would serve as a combat medic, but he would absolutely not carry a weapon. And this right here, this is the heart of the conflict. The Army's job, especially for an infantryman, is to take life to achieve an objective. But Doss's entire conviction, his whole reason for being there, was the exact opposite, to save life. You can just imagine the kind of problems that caused from the moment he signed up. But his resolve wasn't just tested in one big, famous battle. No, his character was forged through constant pressure and ridicule, long before the rest of the world had any idea who he was. You know, his fellow soldiers, they just didn't get it. They bullied him, they threw things at him, they called him a coward. His commanders tried everything they could to get him kicked out of the Army. They saw his refusal to hold a rifle as a sign of weakness. He was going to have to prove them all wrong. Not with his words, but with his actions. And oh, did he prove them wrong. Way before he became a household name, he was already a decorated hero. In 1944, he earned not one, but 2 Bronze Star medals for valor, one in Guam, another in the Philippines, for repeatedly running straight into enemy fire to save wounded men. His courage wasn't a one-time thing. It was who he was, day in and day out. All of this was leading to one place, Okinawa. It was here, during one of the bloodiest battles of the war, that the story of Desmond Doss would become the stuff of legend. So this is the place, the Maeda Escarpment. The soldiers had a different name for it, Hacksaw Ridge, and you can see why. It's this terrifying 400-foot-tall sheer cliff crawling with heavily entrenched Japanese soldiers. Taking this ridge was considered pretty much a suicide mission. And when Doss's battalion finally made it to the top, all hell broke loose. They were hammered by an insane counterattack. Artillery, mortars, machine guns. It was a total bloodbath. In just a few minutes, they took about 75 casualties, and the order was given to retreat. But one man didn't retreat. This is from his official Medal of Honor citation, and it says it all. He refused to seek cover. While everyone else was scrambling to get off that ridge and save themselves, Desmond Doss turned around and ran back into the nightmare towards the men who were wounded and dying. Remember that first number? 75 casualties in the initial attack. Well, get this. The estimated number of men he saved that day was 75. By himself, with no weapon. For hours and hours, with bullets and shells exploding all around him, he went from one wounded soldier to the next, dragging them to the edge of that cliff. He created a makeshift litter, tied a special rope knot he knew, and single-handedly lowered them one by one down the 400-foot drop to safety. And after each man, he would pray the same prayer. Lord, please help me get one more. But his story doesn't just stop at the top of that ridge. Surviving that day was a miracle, but it came at a tremendous personal cost, even as it was cementing his place in history. Yeah, his heroism wasn't free. In Okinawa, he was wounded 4 different times. A sniper shot him, a grenade blew up near him. After the war, his body just kept paying the price. He caught tuberculosis, which cost him a lung and 5 ribs. And then, as a result of the treatment, he lost his hearing completely for 12 years. He literally gave his health for his men. And for this almost unbelievable act of bravery, President Truman awarded Desmond Doss the Medal of Honor, the nation's highest military award. He became the first conscientious objector in American history to ever receive it. The very man they had all called a coward was now officially one of the bravest soldiers the country had ever seen. And here you see the full arc of his incredible life. On one side, there's the young corporal, right after the war, and on the other, his final resting place, where he was buried with full honors in 2006. From that one impossible day of courage to a long life of humility. But his legacy, it's still very much alive. You'll find his name on highways, on schools, even on an Army health clinic. And of course, his story was told to millions in the incredible film Hacksaw Ridge, making sure that his unique brand of courage is something we will never, ever forget. So in the end, his life just leaves you with this one profound question. What does it really mean to be strong? Is strength about the power to destroy an enemy, or is it about having the conviction to save a friend? Desmond Doss gave us his answer, not with a rifle, but with his own two hands.